wait. It's not showing up.
Huh?
I said it's not showing up. Yep, here it is.
Okay, I think I have you. I
Okay.
think I have you framed.
Hello.
But you might have to turn it down, or
Yeah,
I
it's
think it
gonna
might give a
have
feedback loop.
loop.
You might have to turn it down. Duh. Might give a feedback loop. Duh. I can't see her.
Oh wait, brother Danubian. Hey, hi. Somebody see you. Wait, I gotta turn this down.
Sweetheart, turn it. No. Yeah, that's looping back.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Peace, brother Danubian.
Sonia C. Hey, fam.
Peace, Sonia.
Unsucking one. Hey, hey, hey. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Oh no, this is your channel.
That's all right.
What
It's
do you
all
say?
good.
How do you start your channel?
I don't. I've been gone so long.
Oh.
No, peace, family. Welcome to Ayapo Yapa. Ayapo Yapa is an acronym. It stands for if you aren't pissed off, you aren't paying attention. I gotta make sure I get that framed right. I know. Hold on, I'm still trying to get it started. But you can talk to them while people come in the room.
What up? What up? What up? Wait, y'all together? Yeah, we sitting here together on the couch doing this that. Hey, Kendrick, what up? What up? What's up?
Peace,
Good
Kendrick.
to see you.
Okay, hold on. I think it's coming in now. Okay, there. Brother.
Now it's gonna be when I'm.
But I got
looking
this
down.
all in there. Would you give me a 1 if you can hear me? And I think that I'm gonna have to move that over.
Pitched? No.
Huh?
He asked if we were hitched.
No, not yet. Well, not well. You don't know. Hold on. Honey, look into the camera. Tell me if you see where, like, the camera part. And I'm gonna try to slide this over. Yeah, I guess that's it.
Oh, you know what? You should use the tablet, and then you could look at it and see how it looks framed up. If it's got the right frame for you.
Thanks, sweetie. A bunch of number ones.
That means they can hear us.
Yep.
Your mic sounds nice. Check 1. My mic sounds nice. Check 2.
Hold on. I'm gonna get a.
My mic sounds
I'll be right back.
Check 3. Are you ready? So, we are going to be doing, and spoiler report or spoiler alert, if you have not seen Tales from the Hood 1 and 2, then you may not want to watch this, or you may want to watch it. But we're going to be talking about Tales from the Hood, the original, which probably wasn't called 1 and number 2, because I hadn't seen either one of them. I guess I had heard of Tales from the Hood, or I don't know. I heard of Tales from the Crypt. I might have heard of Tales from the Hood. I had never seen it, hadn't had any interest in seeing it. So we watched both of them. This is my first time seeing the first one. And you had seen the first one 3-4 times, something like that. Are you waiting to see yourself before you start talking?
I am.
You see this thing in the
Right.
Oh, I thought you tried to
I guess
move
I'll
that
move
out
it.
of the shot. It's such a delay.
I know. Making sure I'm moving it the right way.
We could have done a movie night. I know I've been wanting to do movie night. That's what I've been saying. And I'll watch Tales from. It's on Netflix though. Dang! Every time I look down to see what it looks like, I'm looking down.
Peace unsunken. I know. So we're trying to look at this and talk at the same time. But
You heard me start talking about
what?
What we're doing.
Wait, real quick. This is going to be full of spoilers. So if you haven't seen Tales from the Hood, I said Tales from the Hood. If you haven't seen Tales from the Hood 1 or 2, this is going to be full of spoilers. So it's just a like full spoiler alert for the whole thing.
I think I had already said that, but I can't remember.
Oh, my bad.
King Wage, I didn't see you.
Peace,
Oh, King Wage will hopefully do a movie night soon. They're awesome.
Oh, I thought he was in there. I'm trying to.
I
trying
know.
To, yeah, I see it on my glasses.
I don't know who's gonna. You probably shouldn't do that then. Was it good? Okay. So as I was saying, Tales from the Hood is what we're talking about. I think the thumbnail, the title says that. I don't really know how your camera is set up. So
you see that right there? It is.
Okay.
Can you see that? I know it's kind of.
It's close enough.
Yeah, I know that's janky.
I think as long as you're looking in the general direction, it's good.
Right.
So Tales from the Hood 1 and 2. So since I had never seen Tales from the Hood 1, we saw Tales from the Hood 1. You had seen Tales from the Hood 3 or 4 times.
Right.
So plenty of times.
And I saw that the theater when it first came out in '95. The first one.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I see. What up?
Oh.
What up? What up?
Peace, I see.
Okay. So we're going to start with Tales from the Hood, the original, which I guess is not, I don't know if it's technically 1, but the first one. And then we're going to go into number 2. So I have the names of each of the segments written down.
Yes.
And then I have to wrap around at the end.
Please.
Okay. So the first segment in the original, now the original was done in like 1994 or 1995. I think that Spike Lee might have been the producer on both of them. And the same people who wrote and directed the first one are the same people who wrote and directed the second, but I don't really know their names.
That's right. It's it's Rusty. Is this Condeef?
Oh, right. I remember we
and Darren Scott.
Okay.
Wrote and directed both.
Okay, so and it was 95. Is that the first one?
It was 95 when the first one came out.
Okay, so the second one is 2018. It just came out, and it's on Netflix. The first one came out in theaters. You had it on CD, DVD,
yeah,
Blu-ray,
DVD,
something like that. Okay, so the first segment. So what basically Tales from the Hood, for those who have not seen it, it's like an anthology show. So it's a movie, like it's a couple hours long, but there are several stories within the movie, and then there's kind of one story called the Wraparound that holds everything together or supposedly connects everything. Mm-hmm. So the first little story, and we're not going to start with the Wraparound, we're going to end with the Wraparound, but the first little story that we get is one called Rogue Cop Revelation. Hey, Dark Void.
Peace, Dark Void.
Avery Hodge, hey.
Avery.
I was about to get into the video dying to search for Uhuru uploaded. I saw this and said I had to check out what Brother Ayapa was up to. Peace, brother and sister in chat.
Yeah,
Peace.
I'm still alive and kicking, everybody. I mean, you see me in some of the live streams, but I'm still here. I'll be back soon.
Okay. So the first segment in the original Tales from the Hood was called Rogue Cop Revelation. And the main character, it was about, like, it started off with this guy, a black guy who was a rookie cop. He was like a brand new cop. This might have been his first night on the job. And they end up pulling over a black guy. The black guy ends up being an activist. There are a total of 4 cops there, including the black rookie cop. You're looking at the...
Yeah, that's like, so I was looking slim. She must not be seeing, like, too much of me then. But thank you.
So the 3 cops are white and they're like older. Then there's like the black rookie cop, and the black rookie cop is like, wait a second, this isn't right. This guy is an activist. He's a politician. You know, we shouldn't be, harassing him, beating him, killing him, whatever, And so he kind of protests, and he advocates for the activists. And then, hey, Rowdy Chica, what up, girl?
Peace, Rowdy Chica.
And then he ends up, I hope I'm not missing anybody. And then he ends up quitting his job, becoming an alcoholic. He feels bad about not doing more to help the activist who ends up getting brutally beat, and then set up as a drug dealer, as a drug user as he was murdered. And so the rookie cop feels bad about it, and then he's being haunted by the activist who got killed, who's like, bring him to me. So the rookie cop ends up bringing the three other cops to the grave of the activist who was killed. And then basically the activist ends up killing all of them. Like all of the cops that were there on the scene, including the rookie cop.
Right. But the rookie cop got saved till last. Because at the end of it, that's when he said, why didn't you help me, brother, like that?
Yeah.
And that was the part that I disagreed with.
That was the part a lot of it, like, I felt like the young guy, the brother who was the rookie cop, he seemed like he was trying to fight for the activists all along, and he seemed like he was trying to do the right thing, even to the point of quitting his job. Now, I guess he could have tried to fight the system, but I just felt like, I don't know. So I was kind of like, now that's kind of interesting, because I liked the fact that the subject matter was a horror, was something horrible that black people would experience. So I was kind of like, oh, okay, a horror film. Like, okay, I get it. Like a horror, like not some random doll coming to life, but like in the context of black folks, I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. But I didn't really feel like it was fair for the dead guy to the rookie cop, did he end up getting killed, or he ended up going to the insane asylum? So I didn't feel like it was
and blamed for the deaths of those three cops.
And blamed for the deaths of the three cops. I didn't feel like it was fair for the ghost to like go after the rookie cop like that. But then it's kind of like a horror. Like, as a black folk, you do everything you can, and then the black folks still be mad at you, even the dead one. So that's kind of like a horror film in a way, from the perspective of me as a black folks. Sonya C, I gotta check out this new one on Netflix. Oh, Kendrick says he never got into Tales from the Hood. Okay. Did you have anything else to say about Road Cop?
Yeah, I was just saying that in the Road Cop Revelation, as we had discussed, when the spirit of the activist went after that black cop, went after the black cop, we were just discussing that in the context. If you ever watched Tales of the Hood, if you haven't seen it yet, or Tales from the Hood, in context, you're looking at a rookie cop and surrounded by three white cops who are showing that they have absolutely no compunction for breaking the law, which is just cop the way they do. But
hold on 1 second, you're on Ayapo Yapa's channel, Water Sniper.
Oh no, that's all right, Water Sniper. Peace, Water Sniper. And so they have no compunction about going after anybody. So he there's no way that he could have known what to do in that situation. And afterward, he did all that he could do. The only thing that he didn't do was turn them in. But at the same time, what good was that done? Because he's dealing with a corrupt system. But he did quit. So I just had a little disagreement with the way that story went at the end. But as Angela said, it's a horror movie.
So that would have been that is horrible.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay. So that was the first little segment on the original Tales from the Hood. It was called Road Cop Revelation. Then the next one was Boys Do Get Bruised. Now this one was about a boy who ended up having some supernatural powers to get with the things that were troubling him in his life. So if he wrote the stuff down on paper, he could crumple up the paper. Like if he drew a picture of what was bothering him, and he could crumple up the paper or affect the paper, and then it actually affected what was bothering him. So he was actually being harassed by a monster, is what he told us, or what we found out. And we came to realize that he had an abusive stepfather, who I did not realize was David Alan Grier until you said that. I was like, oh, and it was.
Can I interject something real quick? Anyone out there, if you've seen the original Tales from the Crypt, give me a 1. Okay, keep going.
Step 1. I mean, hit one. Okay. Yeah. So, So I like this. As I was watching this, I was kind of like, okay, wait a second. I like seeing the black male teacher.
Oh.
One of the characters was a black male teacher. At one point, two of the boys had gotten into a fight. Our main character and another little bully boy, and the black male teacher had his arms around the boys. The black male teacher had locks. So it was like I just really like the imagery of seeing him as kind of like tender and like nurturing to the children and like in real life it's rare for you to see black men as teachers, especially with younger people. So that was really nice to see. There was a nurse that was in that segment who was a black woman.
Mm-hmm.
There was another black male teacher. They just seemed like normal people. The black male teacher ended up, kind of trying to be a hero, even though the little boy was the main hero. But he went in and, tried to like advocate on behalf of the child. And then, when stuff got rough and, he left and then he saw that the David Allen Greer was beating the woman who I saw on
these
a
are
reality
unambiguously
show.
black people.
Unambiguously black people. I mean, it's really a concept sometimes to see black folks
Right.
who, like you, like they black. You don't have no question. Like, I think they black. Are they black? They black. It's like unambiguously black. So that was just nice. That was, it was cool to see him want to go in and try to save the boy and save the woman.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, okay, I was kind of like, I'm here for, black folks who are, being shown in a certain way. And also like characters who are black who didn't have, like the school nurse could have been white, but she was black. I was like, okay, it's a black show.
Right.
Yay. Those are all the notes I have about Boys Do Get Bruised. Did you have anything else you want to say about that segment?
No, you pretty much.
It's your channel.
No, that's all right. No, you're doing a good review of it, and I pretty much have the same feelings about it as Angela. I enjoy seeing all the black people. One of the things I liked about the movie overall, I guess we'll get to that at the end, is that it didn't show black people monolithically. There's just a nice mixture, and again, the people who were black were unambiguously black, and I just really, really like seeing that. And the stories had a degree of depth to them. A couple of them were a little preachy, but.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we're on the same couch, Water Sniper.
Avery Hodge, welcome in the chat. You said you missed the beginning
Peace,
of this
Avery.
video. Is this going to be a regular discussion topic? I haven't seen any of these shows. No, we just saw Tales from the Hood 1 and 2.
Yeah, I had to say something about that. But
And you had to say something.
I had to say something.
Okay. So, okay. Was it scary? No. I thought I'm not really into scary films, and I was kind of like I'm not really into horror, so I was like I don't know if I want to see it. And as I was watching it, I was like, oh, now I kind of understand the film Get Out in the context of black horror, and I never really understood that before. I kind of thought Get Out just came from nowhere. I'm like, oh, this type of horror film, it's like I understand as a black person, this stuff is horrible. Unlike Chucky, like a doll coming alive, or some of the stuff just I don't, yeah. So it was horrible in kind of more in that sense, even though I think it was supposed to be like, oh, we're in a funeral home and these are dead people.
Right.
But it wasn't like hardcore horror.
Right. It wasn't that scary to me. Neither one of them.
It wasn't scary to me. I probably have less of a tolerance for like scariness.
Very, very entertaining though.
Very entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, hey Nicole Ali, what's up?
Oh, peace,
girlie?
Nicole.
Okay. So then the next segment was called KKK Comeuppance. And this one, it was like there was a painting. There was a politician, a white politician who was running for public office. He had purchased or was using as his campaign headquarters a mansion that had a history, which I guess is not unlike the history of a lot of places of like, brutalizing enslaved Africans. But on this particular place, there had been a hoodoo voodoo woman. And who doesn't love a hoodoo voodoo woman? Well, I do. I love hoodoo voodoo witches. Come with it. Fight for the people. If not them, then who? So there was like a painting on the wall of this old, enslaver monster house mansion or whatever, where it depicted this hoodoo woman and the enslaved Africans that had been on the plantation. I guess she had made hoodoo dolls of each of the people. I can't really remember what the deal was with that.
There were on that plantation when the enslaved Africans got their freedom, that slave monster murdered all the slaves, and the hoodoo woman made little dolls, and their souls were put into each of the dolls.
Okay. So there was a painting on the wall of the mansion to this day that represented the hoodoo woman and the souls of the enslaved folks, the puppets that had been made of them. And so there was like, so in this segment, there was like the politician was like trying to get elected. He had a professional black sellout who was working with him, kind of like as a media consultant, to train him in terms of how to answer the questions and what to say. Even though the man was a sellout, I did appreciate that it was a professional, black man in the show. So he was the first one to get killed. Some people believe that if people are sellouts, they should be the first one to go in a race war. I don't know if I necessarily believe that. But other than saying, again, that I love hoodoo and hoodoo witches, I don't really have anything else to say about that segment. I'm not necessarily giving you the whole summary of it, but just...
I will say this about it. When that first came out, Tales from the Hood came out, the original, in 1995. And we were talking about the animation, because the puppets were done not with computer animation, but were done with stop motion. If any of you know what that is, that's when they take a frame, move the character a little bit, take another frame, and so on. And when you watch the movie and the way that was done, to be honest, it still holds up. A lot of that stop motion animation really still holds up even today when you watch it. It's not, it doesn't have the smoothness of like computer animation, but it looked just really, really good, especially for its time.
I thought it looked good. And I was reading reviews of these films, and one person was like, the new one looks older than the old one. You got that? Because I think I asked you something about the animation, because I was kind of like, how are they doing those puppets?
God,
and the other thing I want to say is, y'all know Bella, the pitter patter of little feet. When I first got her, she would follow me everywhere, and it would be like, you could just hear her little feet all over the place. And I love those little puppets in that segment. The pitter patter of their little feet, just, I don't know, it was so cute to me. And it was so funny when the puppets, as the episode progressed, or as that little segment progressed, the puppets that were on the painting, as they came to life, they would wipe out on the painting. Right. So there would just be a blank spot where they were. And that was so funny to me. That's all.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Peace test smooth. I can't say it.
T smooth
sounds.
Smoother sounds. T smoother sounds. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Oh, smooth sounds.
Smooth.
Like smooth jazz.
But it's got an E at the end. But maybe that's like smooth.
What's the next
Stop motion. Dark Voice said stop motion is always better than CG.
Right.
Nicole,
it feels more organic.
Yeah, I don't know. I liked it. I liked the little puppets. Hey, Black Justice, peace. Welcome on the chat.
Peace.
Okay. So then so that was KKK Comeuppance, and then there was hand care convert. Many new concepts. Love the KKK. I don't know what that is.
What was it about?
I don't know. Hardcore convert. That was the gangster scene.
Right.
Okay, so this is all I want to say about this one. He was like supposed to be like this hardcore gangster, a young black guy. He probably less than 25. He was young to me. And so before I even get into that, I do want to say that I'm happy that the doctor was black. Another gratuitous black person, even though she was light skinned, she was unambiguously black.
Right.
And then I read someplace, you know who the actress was? who played the doctor. I don't remember her name, but this was her last film before she made her transition.
Oh, really?
She looked familiar. Yeah, I didn't know that. She looked familiar to me, but I don't remember who she was. But I did read that. So okay, so she was like a he was a gangster who it was like a drive-by shooting type situation. He saw a guy at a stoplight, followed him. He like, that's that Negro, and then, I'm gonna shoot him up. And then he shot him. And then the guys came out from inside, and then they shot him, and he was about to die. And then it was like 8 million cops there, and then he ended up in jail. And then as part of his jail situation, he got the option to be a part of.
Oh, a Cap just came in. Peace, Cap.
Hey, peace, Cap. He got the chance to be a part of this rehab that was run by the government, by this black woman. I was very suspicious of a rehab run by the government. Like the government is trying to rehab black folks. That's very suspicious to me. But anyway, as part of her rehab, she was kind of like trying to help or shock this young thug who just hardcore gangster who couldn't be redeemed, who had just killed all of these people, and he really truly had, in the movie context, killed a bunch of people. But I still think he could have been redeemed, but she was trying to like shock him into seeing that he's basically like the KKK, to the point where they literally had, a white I hate black people and I want to kill black people.
The white supremacist.
A white supremacist. Yeah. Right. In the cell beside him, who was like, we the same. Who you kill when you kill people? Black people? Well, that's who I like to kill. I like to kill black people. You my brother. We cool. I like what you doing. Good job, gangster. Right. And the little boy seemed a little shocked. And then they had where he was like looking at images of black folks
that he killed.
Before that, he was like looking at images of black folks who had been hung by the KKK, and also kind of juxtaposed with gang violence killings. Sort of, I think, trying to make the link between the gang violence and the KKK, and how, you one and the same, y'all all, killing black folks. And then he ended up being in a sensory deprivation chamber, and while he was there, he was being visited by, all of the people, or some of the people he had murdered. And he was just totally unrepentant. Like, it wasn't my fault because, that guy was a thug. Well, that wasn't my fault because...
The bullet ain't got no name on it.
Huh?
When he said a bullet ain't got no name
on it. Right, when the little girl was like, well, what about me? I wasn't a thug. He like, a bullet ain't got no name on it. He was just like unrepentant. And so since he didn't repent at that time, and I feel like they only did 2 or 3 things with him. The child is 25 years old. They not gonna give him, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years to try to rehab and like make some connections. Some of these ideas, I feel like he had probably just been exposed to them for the very first time. So I felt like he needed more of a chance. But, I'm kind of like, that's the kind of person I am. Like, I feel like people need an opportunity to grow and develop and synthesize new information. It seemed like it was new information for him. So, but since he didn't synthesize the information, they sent him back to where he had been shot.
Right.
And instead of the cops rescuing him, he was killed because it was like he can't be redeemed. And I kind of feel like that's horrible. Like, back to this horror film theme, like the idea that, all his life he's only been exposed to certain types of ideas, and that shaped him into the monster that he was. And then you expose him for 2 seconds to some new ideas. He don't even have time to, like, for the synapses to fire, and now he dead. So I didn't particularly care for that. But I mean, it fits in the context of horror. Like, as black folks, the horror of, if you don't get your skit together quick, then your behind might be, going to hell too. Like, you better figure it out. Don't be making no mistakes out here, black folks. I don't care how long you've been hearing the same thing over and over again, and how you've been indoctrinated and what you've been exposed to. You better get it together. And it's kind of like the horror, like, we can't just be humans and get stuff together in human time. All right.
That segment reminded me, I don't know who out there has seen the movie A Clockwork Orange. That was Stanley Kubrick's movie. And it had kind of the same theme as that segment, where they were trying to rehabilitate someone through...
Hold on one second. It's Tales from the Hood, Part 1 and Part 2. So now we're doing Part 1. I don't know.
Part 1 right now.
Yeah, we're almost finished.
And back to the doll segment. That segment was done before all the Child's Play and Chucky movies came out, if I'm remembering correctly. So, and I was thinking maybe they might have been trying to bite off that, but then again, you had that Living Doll episode from the Twilight Zone, years before that. So, yeah, that's all I have to say. But when it came to the segment that Angela just referred to, we had the discussion about the way that in the context of the society in which we're raised, we're born and raised. The main character was a thug and he was like killing everybody and all this different stuff. But when it came to his redemption, just like Angela had alluded to, he had really no point of reference. How can what can you go back to when you've never been there in the first place? So there's no point of reference for him. So for them to be like, you have to make this split second decision to change to what from what. There's no point of reference at all. Mm-hmm. So anyway, that was my feelings about that as I watched it. So
okay, all right. So those were the little mini anthologies within the full movie, and then the wraparound segment. So when we first come into the movie Tales from the Hood 1, which was released in movie theaters in 1995, there are like 3 gangsters in that. Now those 3 guys, they seem really like gangsters, like yo, we hood. Like I was not so.
We hood?
Yeah, they seem like we from the hood. Yo. What up, though? Like me trying to.
I know you about as hood as John Denver.
Right. Oh, I don't know who John Denver was. But
don't worry about it.
It was called Welcome. That segment was called Welcome to My Mortuary.
Right.
Yo. Right. So these 3, guys from the hood who I guess are drug dealers. Somehow the guy who runs the mortuary,
played by Clarence Williams III, from Mod Squad.
From Mod Squad.
Yeah, you darn straight.
I never saw Mod Squad.
He was Link. No, go on. I'm sorry, Dave. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So they think that they're coming to the funeral home because the funeral director has found some drugs, and they come to get these drugs or money or something. They're being gangsters, and he telling them stories like, oh, this corpse right here is the rogue cop Revelation. This is his corpse, and then this corpse right here is Boys Do Get Bruised, or not the little boy, but his stepdaddy, and then this corpse right here is KKK Comeuppance. I don't know who Auntie Claire, and Uncle Bobo are. Hey, Andre Tiffin. You know who they are?
I don't know. Somebody messed up. That's who it is. Peace, Andre. I saw you just come in the room. I'm not gonna worry about the comments from the peanut gallery.
Okay. So, dang, I was in the middle of saying something.
Like they would say.
So they thought they were gonna come in and get some drugs or get some money or whatever. They were in being gangsters. Oh, but so they were hearing the stories of all of these different dead people, and they like basically, okay, that's interesting, but we here to get these drugs. And the guy who runs the mortuary is like, well, the drugs are in these 3 coffins. And then they open up the coffin one by one, and they're in the coffin. So they're actually dead, and they're not in a mortuary, but they're in hell. And Clarence is the devil.
Yeah, right.
Clarence Williams III is the devil. Now, I really liked his hair. It was like... And he was kind of... I liked how he played cuckoo crazy, kind of. Like, I thought it fit. I think that's all I have to do. I mean, that's all I have to say about that one.
Yeah, that was a good segment.
Okay. You don't have any other comments?
No, I love the way Clarence Williams III played that part. And the thing was, when he did that in 1995, he hadn't been seen in a long time. Because, like I said, it's like since he did My Squad that he even did a lot of acting or did any acting. And then he had a few more roles after that, and I think he's sick now, but except for that other one, he didn't feel up to it.
Yeah,
So
they
got
wanted
Keith
him to
David.
come out for number 2 for Tales from the Hood 2. They wanted him to play the role play the role again, reprise his role. But he said he wasn't feeling up to it. I read someplace. I did not talk to him personally. I'm just telling you what I heard. How can we tell how long we've been on here? I guess it doesn't matter because he said. So that was it for number 1. In general, number 1, when I left it, I was kind of like, okay. I kind of feel like I might get into like black horror. Like I do like to read Tanana Reeves Dew. She's like one of my favorite all-time authors. I love the Immortal series, and I just like her work, like what I've read of it, and I like her presence on Twitter. So it's kind of like I know she teaches a course on like black horror, and I was like, okay, I'm kind of like black horror, like a lot of these themes like domestic violence and violence, black on black crime, and what was the other thing? Being a cop and fighting the system and stuff. That's stuff that as black folks we can relate to. And then you have the horror that's associated with being black in the society. Kind of like Get Out. This I could kind of like. I was kind of like, okay, Tales from the Hood. I was kind of feeling, good. And then we went into Tales from the Hood too. So when you started watching Tales from the Hood too, you were like, ooh, this is really good. You watched about 5 or 10 or 15 minutes, and then you're like, okay, let's watch it together.
15 minutes in, yeah.
Okay.
Andre's birthday's coming up.
Oh, happy pre-early birthday.
Yeah, happy pre-birthday, Andre. Somebody had birthday yesterday.
Oh, that's right. Happy belated birthday. Happy New Year.
Yeah, thank you. What are you talking about?
What you mean? What am I talking about?
You gonna be embarrassed if I tell them what you did for my birthday?
I don't know. What did I do for your birthday?
You made me that platter.
Oh.
Angela made me the nicest cheese platter for my birthday, and I don't like cake, so I had apple pie. We haven't eaten it yet, but she made me the nicest cheese platter. It had it had like cheese and crackers and different breads, different kinds of cheeses, and what was it? Pistachios. And it was just nice.
Mm-hmm.
And got a video too.
A video?
Yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, yeah.
So
okay.
that's all good.
Okay. So went into that's good. I'm glad it was good. So went into Tales from the Hood 2. I was like on a high note. Like I'm kind of like, well, I never saw 1, so why am I gonna watch 2? Let's watch 1. I mean, yeah, let's watch 1 and then 2. Right. So I'm kind of like still like, yay from Tales on the Hood 1.
Oh, let me tell. When I started watching Tales from the Hood 2, which is on Netflix right now, it's new to Netflix, and I watched. I was by myself. I was starting to watch about the first 10, 15 minutes of it, and it looked like it was going to be really, really good. I liked the way it started out, and then I said, I'm not going to watch this without Angela. I'm going to wait until we're together and then watch it. And so I didn't watch it, and then. When did we watch it? Just yesterday?
Yesterday or the day before, I don't remember.
Or maybe the day before.
I thought of Beloved as horror too. I mean, now that you mentioned it.
Yeah, me too, because of that Oprah Winfrey. But, okay. But anyway, I said I wouldn't watch it until she watched it with me because it was really, looking like it was really good. And then that's when I found out that she had never seen the original Tales from the Hood, and we watched that. And then went on to the second one. And then that's when it happened.
So the first segment in this, so again, this one had, I think, 4 stories, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are 4 stories and then the wraparound. Of course, the wraparound opens and closes, and it's in between each of the segments too. But we're going to talk about the wraparound at the end. So we're on Tales from the Hood number 2. So the first segment is called Good Golly, as in Good Golly, Miss Molly. And it's dealing with gollywogs. I'm not familiar with gollywogs, but when you Googled it, it seemed like it was an Australian, like black Piccadilly dolls,
right?
That aren't supposed to be racist, but
yeah, but they look like Sambo characters,
right?
So,
but I'm like, is gollywog like an American phenomenon, or is that like? But anyway, it doesn't matter. So the first segment was called Good Golly. I don't really have much to say about that, except that there was a white girl, young woman, and a black young woman, and they were friends. And then the white young woman had a brother. the white young woman's brother was also the boyfriend of the black young woman. The white young woman wanted to buy a gollywog from this museum of negrosity. Negrosity. How do you pronounce that? I don't know. But the Museum of Negrosity. And the guy is like, no, you don't know your history, or whatever. And they're like, well, we're friends, so that means that everything
Right.
is good. So it was kind of like that whole like, black and white friends trope.
Yeah,
And
jacked up vibe. Yeah.
yeah, so now I didn't think that it got foolish, but you had that's I think that's all I really have to say about it.
Yeah.
So I feel like this what I do want to say is we're already starting off with the gratuitous whiteness. I felt like in the first one it was like gratuitous blackness. It was just
Right.
black people just because. And in
Right.
this one I'm like it feel like it's just white people just because. Like I feel like even if you go to the IMDb or whatever, it seemed like when you look at the images of who's in it, for number 2 it's like a whole bunch of white people. For number 1 it's a whole bunch of black people.
Right. Well, that first one when I saw it, when I started to see it, the thing that I liked about it was
Hey,
it started
Kendra.
out peace. And thanks for all the birthday wishes, everyone. When I first started watching it, it looked like it was going to really make a statement because it was showing some of the nuance of like black people and white people interacting, and it looked like it was starting to build the right way, and then it just took this left turn, and it was just all bad, and then it got dumb, but the whole thing, I don't know, I didn't like it, I wasn't feeling it, and the only thing that they did do, the little character, the doll beside the gollywog, they just kind of like did a cameo of one of the dolls from the original Tales from the Hood that was in the segment KKK Comeuppance. So if you keep an eye out, and those who have seen the first one, the first Tales from the Hood, then you'll be able to catch a glimpse of that same doll. But it just didn't have to me it didn't have the same flavor, didn't have the same power, and I think it's just kind of dumb.
Mm-hmm.
It just took a dumb turn.
Okay. So when you were like, "Oh, this is dumb," I was kind of like, "Well, I mean, I was still like on the high from Tales from the Hood 1, and I was kind of like, it's okay." So then we went on. I was like,
Love like the sun just came
"Hey, love
in.
like the
Peace,
sun."
love like the sun.
Okay. So then the second segment was called The Medium. And it was like a fake white guy. Again, gratuitous white person. I don't know why it couldn't be a black person, but it was a white person.
Right.
And then there were like black thugs. And then there was a reformed thug with a pretty woman who was racially ambiguous Latina. And then the black man gets greater success as a white man. So the black man ends up the reformed thug who has the racially ambiguous woman. Look, this is my version of the story. I'm
Right.
sure nobody else would describe it like this. Ends up being the medium, and he gets more success as a white man than he had as a black man. So that's like how I would describe that segment. White for no reason, and
Right.
that's
And well, I was offended by. I already told you I was offended by the whole. When they were going after the reformed drug dealers,
reformed pimp.
reformed pimps.
He might have been a drug dealer
Girlfriend, he might have been a drug dealer too. But when they were going after his girlfriend, they hadn't shown her yet, and the three fellows were like, "Oh yeah, she bad as hell." And then as soon as they showed her, I was just like, this Latina, I was like, oh, another. What I said, strike two.
Yeah, I don't know. You
Yeah,
might
I
have.
did. I said strike two because I didn't like that whatsoever. And there was a lot of Sonia sees. There was a lot of swearing in that segment. As far as when when they were beating the guy up,
Oh, I
and they
didn't
went
notice
after
that.
me. Yeah, yeah.
And she said enough of the thugs already.
Well, that's a
Right, but they didn't say pretty. They were like, she bad. Like, before, like you said, before we saw her, they were like, oh, oh, she. And then when we saw her,
right.
And
And then they didn't have.
she was a nice looking woman. I mean, I'm not.
Did they have one black woman in there? Unambiguously black woman.
I don't think. Well, in Good Golly, the young black
Oh.
woman, she was black, and even though she had her hair pulled back and like in a pony, it was quite a bit of curls to me. Like I was kind of like, her hair don't look like slick back straight. To me, I just noticed that. So she even had nappy hair. But she was a mess. That child in Good Golly, she was like with the white guy.
Right.
And she was like, oh, with me. And I was like, what in the world?
Right.
And she was like, well, we're friends. I was just like,
It was just crazy. But
it was,
in the second one, about the medium, that one was just all jacked up too. And I was noticing that like all the dark skinned black characters had foul mouths. I guess with the exception of
MF.
Right, and that was just
with the exception of who?
The young lady on the first segment.
Right, she didn't have foul mouth, and you thought that the reformed pimp was dark skinned, but I think he was like medium skin or light. But anyway, it didn't.
They beat him so bad he was looking dark.
Oh, he
Yeah.
black and blue.
All right.
So that was that. And then, so by then I was kind of like, I was feeling a little bit like, yeah. And I don't know if it's because, Ayapo kept saying, this is bad, this is bad,
Right.
this is bad. I don't know if I would have noticed it immediately. Because I was still on the high from the first one. But by this segment, I was kind of like, yeah, this is not good. Okay, so then the next anthology in this little series, Tales from the Hood, #2, was Date Night.
Right. Peace, Max Evans. Just came.
Peace, Max. S. Wiseman, what up? What up?
Oh, Peace, S. Wiseman.
So Date Night, I don't even remember what that was about. White/black date. Oh. So these guys want to be like date rapists wannabes, or maybe they have a career, like maybe they go around date raping all the time. But they on their way to a date and they gonna rape the women. That's they plan. They gonna drug them and rape them.
Drug them and rape, yeah.
And they just all like excited about that. And all of the reviews I saw said that this was like the weakest one. I thought they were all kind of weak. Somebody said earlier it was weak. I agree.
Yeah.
I thought they were all kind of weak, especially like the more I thought about it, the more I kind of got mad.
Especially in relationship to the first movie.
Yeah, well that's right. That was my only frame of reference. But again, here we have like the white guy, black guy. I think it was a white guy and a black guy, and then the women that they were dating, I think it was like a light-skinned black woman and an Asian woman. I think the black one, was she black or white? I don't know.
Exactly. That's my point. Yeah, exactly.
She was racially ambiguous.
Right. You didn't know what she was.
Right. So she was blackish or
She
brownish.
she wasn't black.
She was brownish. She wasn't blackity black, but she was,
Yeah, she wasn't black.
She wasn't black.
Yeah, no. There's a lot of that going around, I've heard.
In this anthology in #2, it was like a lot of we all just getting along type stuff. And
Right.
I'm in favor of getting along. So they get turned into vampires, the date rapist wannabe. So they think that they the head predators in charge, but actually these women are vampires and they the real predators, so they predate on these guys, or a different type of predator.
Predate?
They predate. And that's it. They get put in the dungeon with the other vampires who the women have turned, who tried to predate on the women and who are vampires, and then that's it. What's the perfect term? Predate? How you say somebody who is actively being a predator?
Actively
Predate.
being a predator. But they got thrown in this dungeon with a bunch of the men that those two women had turned into vampires, and that was it. But I took note of the fact that Like it was
Hey, Earth Angel.
Peace, Earth Angel. There, I took note of the fact that you had one who looked like he was biracial and the other who was white. But the one who was white, even though he was scared, he was still trying to be a badass or whatever. But the black one was blackish one. Thank you. Was like always crying, was like crying and being like this coward and all this, and I didn't appreciate that too much either. But
yeah,
what you gonna do?
Preditate and conversate with him. Sonya sees
Pred-
Now I don't use conversate because we already have a word for that.
What?
Converse. That's
Converse.
yeah. We don't need to make up a word for that.
Converse is a tennis shoe.
No, that's Converse. Trey Toppin says they're trying to make ambiguous the new black.
Right.
Certainly, if you watch Tales from the Hood 1 and 2, and I read that he had been trying to get that number 2 made for years and years and years and years and years. So ever since he made 1, the main guy, Kundif, whoever, has been trying to get 2 made, and nobody really saw the value of it or whatever. And then somebody else said something about they love putting Brother Danubian. They love putting racially ambiguous folk in every daggone thing.
Right. With the exception of the first one.
Well, see, but you look at the first one, this is like we're looking at, it's interesting to look at the casting and some of the choices that they made because it is 20, 25 years later. Right. So, the orange is the new black, racially ambiguous is the new black. Everything but blackity black is the new black. You know what I mean? Blackish is the new black. I mean, whatever. So, and I really appreciated watching Tales from the Hood 1. I was like, oh, they just got black people like just up in here being
black,
just being folk. It was kind of like it was refreshing, and I think because it was like an older film, and we so used to seeing like racially ambiguous brownish people,
right,
that it kind of stood out. Okay, so anyway, that was date night. And then the last segment before we get to the wraparound was called The Sacrifice.
Just a second. Peace, Regina Davis just came in the room.
Hey, Regina Davis. The colorism is obvious.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I said to anybody when we came.
When did you do turn it up?
I have no idea. I don't know if I said to anybody when I came in there, but I'm Angela, and my channel is Be Fabulous You on YouTube. BeFabulous So go check out my channel.
I'll put a link at the bottom later.
Okay, in the comments or
in the comments? Yeah. Well, I'll put a link at the bottom later.
Okay.
when I'm not gonna edit it, you know what I mean.
Okay, I don't know. So the last, whatever, it's good. The Sacrifice was the last segment, and because some of these people I don't recognize, most of y'all I do, but it's a couple. Hey, what up though? What up though? From Detroit. The Sacrifice was the last segment. Oh, it's midnight. My screen just went. That means it's late. Okay, so The Sacrifice was the name of the last segment. And it was about a black man and his mom, a black man and his black mom, and the fight for the life of their biracial child. Yeah. And sort of juxtaposed with this modern day couple is the white wife who is pregnant, who has had a miscarriage, is having dreams of, I immediately knew it was Emmett Till. Actually, from the casting, I don't know why, but as soon as I saw it, I'm like, is that supposed to be Emmett Till?
Right.
But Emmett Till is like trying to snatch the life of the biracial child from her belly. So in some parts of the thing, her belly is getting smaller and she's afraid of having another miscarriage. The husband, the black husband who's married to the white woman, is a politician who is trying to vote, who's supporting a white politician and is trying to vote to like close down a whole bunch of black polling sites or whatever. He's like the sellout of this episode.
Right, the coon.
And Emmett Till is like trying to steal the life away from. Now it was I did not understand what I watched it, and I think I'm relatively bright, but I did not understand what the story. Well, like I'm like I don't understand what y'all trying to say. What does it mean?
Right.
Like he trying to steal the life from the baby. They say to Emmett Till like he's gonna make a choice, and I'm like, well, the child didn't have a choice when they snatched the child from his great uncle's house and murdered him. So like, what choice is he gonna make now? I'm gonna make a different choice, and it was just kind of like dumb to me. Like I'm like, what are you trying to say? He didn't make a choice in the first place. How he gonna make a different choice? It's
Right.
not.
Right.
It's not like he was like, before I chose to. I mean, now he did make there was anyway. So I didn't like that. And then they had the four little girls who were murdered in the church. They made cameos as well, and they were talking.
Meg
Right, but I just want to talk about Emmett Till and the four little girls who I feel like definitely were not out there making choices.
Right.
You might kind of sort of say that if you were, Medgar Evers or Martin Luther King, you were making a choice. But clearly these children were not making choices. It was just dumb. And then like the sacrifice, honor the sacrifice, and then the mama is trying to protect the white mama, baby mama to be, and I don't.
Right. That was it. It was a hot mess because in that segment you had the black guy who had the white wife. The white wife was pregnant. Excuse me, and as Angela was saying, you had these people like appearing out of nowhere, and they're telling us, was he a politician or what?
I think he was a councilman.
A councilman.
But that's just because I read reviews. I couldn't really figure out what was going on.
But he's supporting this guy who's obviously a racist.
He looked like Colonel Sanders, like white hair, white mustache,
right,
white skin.
And then like Emmett Till appears, and then they keep going back in time, showing the scene of supposedly what happened with Emmett Till. Now it did show when they came and snatched him up out of the home, and then it showed them taking him to beat him and so on. But the way it was presented, just as I said to Angela, the way it was presented, it showed like Emmett Till was like a soldier in the fight, and like those four little girls were soldiers in the fight. No, they weren't. These were black children who were brutally murdered by a bunch of white supremacists. Mm-hmm. So it was just a mess. And then at the end of it, the councilman, if that's who he was, got killed. And he elected to die.
The councilman.
Yeah, the councilman. Thank you. elected to die.
He was forced to make a choice because it was like if he didn't make this choice, his baby was gonna die. The biracial child in his white belly.
What was the choice? To save a white woman in the biracial child.
Yeah. I mean,
it made no sense.
Biracial children's lives. I'm not mad at the child, but I was just confused. Right, it was like you have to make a choice. Now, when I was reading, trying to figure out what was going on, they were like he was supposed to. His first choice was to vote to not close down the polling places for black folks.
Right.
But by the time he finally was like, "Yes, I'll make the choice," it was too late, and he had to choose to die. And there was an alternate universe type segment part in it, right, which I kind of like enjoyed sort of kind of a little bit. I don't know why, but that's just the truth. I think that might have been, but it was just messy. The storytelling was weak. I feel like the quality of number 2 was just like, it was not.
It was bad.
It was bad.
I walked out on that movie on an airplane. That movie was bad. Hurt my feelings.
I feel like it was something else I wanted to say about that one, but
it was bad.
I don't even.
My God, it was.
And it was like I didn't know who killed him and why and what choice he was making, and they were like, "Respect the sacrifice, respect the sacrifice, respect this." But I'm like, I don't know what he's respecting and what's going on.
And the thing is that the same team that created the original Tales from the Hood did that one. And I'm like, what the hell happened? Oh, sorry. That's a bad word. I was like, what the heck happened?
What happened? So then that was the end of that segment. Because I do want to talk about overall what I think my theory about what happened is, but I just want to close it up with the wraparound. So, of course, the wraparound is the story that kind of pulls all of the little anthology stories, the little mini stories together. So we have a storyteller who is teaching a robot, like an artificial intelligence judge, jury, and executioning robot.
And it looked cheap.
Yeah, somebody was saying in one of the reviews that the stuff looked like, that's why they were saying this one looked worse than the first one. But I didn't know it looked cheap. It just looked.
It looked cheap. I could have got a bunch of buckets and put it together. And more on the go. I was like, what am I looking at?
Well, I didn't notice all
sorry,
that.
babe.
It looked like a robot to me. I mean, I don't know, but it looked like a robot to me.
A robot looked like a bunch of buckets.
I don't want to watch it now. Thanks for saving me some time. I think you should watch number 1, but I wouldn't recommend number 2. So there's like the main character. His name is Dumas Beach, and I immediately knew. I'm like, okay, this is dumb but biatch,
right.
Obviously. And the guy from Greenleaf, the preacher,
Keith David, is playing
the devil character in this one, who's like the narrator, storyteller, and he's literally a storyteller. He has been hired to tell stories to the artificial intelligence robot, so that the artificial intelligence robot can determine who to kill,
right, and
who to judge and jury and maybe execute if he have to. If they like against the American dream, then the robot is gonna kill him.
Real quick, Keith David was playing the Clarence William III part. He is playing the devil in this one.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I kind of liked him. He is pretty much the only thing I liked about the movie, but he couldn't save it.
Well, the best thing I thought about the movie was not Keith David. He was okay, but his wardrobe.
Oh, yeah,
and I think they could have done a lot more with it. Because when he started, he had on like all black with like a black jacket with like red accents.
Right. And
then each scene, it would change. Now, I would have changed it so that by the end, he went from like black to red. But he went from like black, and then his tie got red.
Then his vest.
Then his vest. And then he had a red flower and then a red fire.
What they should have done was taken some of the money that they used for that doggone suit.
Put it in the robot. And I disagree. I think they should have took some of the money from the robot and put it in the suit. Because it was like every time he came back, I think you pointed out that his outfit had changed. Then I became fascinated by his outfit. And I mean, that kept me entertained.
Right.
Sort of, kind of, though.
Yeah, that was the most entertaining thing about the movie, waiting to see how his clothes was going to change.
That segment was called Robo Hell.
And it was dumb.
It was dumb.
It did make me laugh when old dude was running.
It was bad. The movie was bad. And then it's like so Keith David is telling the robot stories about how to determine who's a patriot or who's against the American way. And of course, dumb butt biatch who has hired him, who's like, I know about
Beach.
It's Dumas Beach.
Right.
But they call him dumb butt biatch. But not like they really cuss.
Right.
But it's like, why? I did not like it. It didn't make sense. Keith David is cool. I really like
Keith David.
You do?
Yeah.
I really like him in, we saw him in Predator.
In The Thing.
The Thing. I didn't even recognize him.
Yeah.
But I really like him in Greenleaf. I think I like him in Greenleaf. And I think this is totally unrelated to this. But in Greenleaf.
Good.
In Greenleaf, they say that this whole season is supposed to be about the struggle of the woman who's divorcing her husband and getting kicked out his first wife, Lady May, who I love in Greenleaf. But that actually Keith David has been putting up such a fuss about why the wife won't forgive him, and you know how he feels that his character should be forgiven, and how his character is being mistreated. That it's become an interesting thing behind the scenes, and I think that's really interesting. I think him as an actor, I think that's interesting, and then I just think just the dynamics of men and women. I just thought it was really interesting to hear. But and They Live. I didn't see They Live. Somebody said
Yeah, They Live was good.
Oh, you saw?
Yeah, that's him, Roddy Piper.
Nicole Ali said that. So anyway, that's it. For in terms of didn't we come up with the name? Oh, hot or cold?
Hot or cold?
Hot or cold?
Hot
No, oh,
or cold.
cold.
Cause I'm hot.
Okay, but
she's cold.
in terms of Tales from the Hood, the original, I thought it was hot. I'm hot on it. I don't know if the hot or cold thing is gonna work. Hot. Woo! Tales from the Hood 1 is hot. Tales from the Hood 2 is cold. It's out cold.
It was
out cold, but in a bad way.
Right.
So I would say don't even waste your time. If you save them 2 hours and use them for something else.
Yeah.
Like scratching your scalp.
That movie was so bad that if it was at the theater, I'd have walked out on it, walked back in, bought a ticket, and sat down for a little while, and then walked out again just so I could walk out on it twice.
That's silly.
It sucked.
That's silly. Regina Davis, I don't know why you took that comment away. Greenleaf, I haven't seen Billy Jack in a long time. Greenleaf is a TV show that comes on the OWN network. And it's, I don't know, I like it. I used to review it, but I haven't reviewed it this season. Kendra said, ha ha ha.
Peace, Kendra, if I didn't speak to you.
She liked your joke about, I haven't watched. She liked your joke about buying a ticket, going out.
You doggone but anyway. Yeah, but all jokes aside, the Tales from the Hood 2, watch it, and form your own opinions about it. What I found interesting, remember when I looked on Rotten Tomatoes? On Rotten Tomatoes, the original Tales from the Hood, which was the good one, only got like 28%, or it's like 40.
I think it was
40 some percent. And they gave this mess 80%. Mm-hmm. But it was mostly white people reviewing it.
And they were all like, oh, you could do a Tales from the Hood every year. Now they see that. And I'm like, now maybe after the first one, but if somebody came to me talking about some Tales from the Hood again, I'd be like, no. And I think that because he tried to get it made for 20 years, and then again, you know, he's been trying to get it made since he made the first one, and he saw the viability of it, and you were like saying you were disappointed that it had made basically only twice as much as it cost to make it.
Yeah, it didn't even make that much.
Well, I read someplace that it doubled the money, but okay. I don't know if that's, but anyway, so a lot, like, I guess Paramount owned it, and then United, and they were keeping it on the shelf, and I don't know if that's number 1 or number 2, but it's kind of like, I feel like as a creative person, he had a vision. He saw the viability of the vision, but he wasn't really able to get that vision produced or get money behind it, and so it was kind of languishing. And I suspect that over the years, he probably had to whiten it and brighten it up in order to make it viable, you know, for these big corporations to want to support it. They were probably looking at Tales from the Hood 1 like it's too many black people. Why y'all got black people in there for no reason? Some of them people y'all could have made white. So the same way I'm looking at that like, woo, black people for no reason. The big corporations were like, what kind of, it's too many black people. So now that they, you know, whitened it up, and I guess Get Out came out and other things happened. But even though the same people made it, and I heard that Kundief produced or directed the Dave Chappelle show, Black Jesus, which I actually like. I think he did season 3. I think he was showrunner of season 3 for Black Jesus. Dang, it was some other stuff he had done.
What 2 can play? It was something like that. I can't remember the name of it.
No, I don't think it was 2 can play that game. But
I mean, it's something like that. It's like a rom-com.
He
did black rom-com.
Okay.
But the thing is that also 40 Acres and a Mule. You know, Spike Lee was executive producer on the first Tales from the Crypt, and there's 40 Acres and a Mule production. And this second one was also um, executive produced by Spike Lee and a 40 Acres and a Mule production. I wouldn't have put 40 Acres and a Mule on that stuff, on that thing.
Yeah, and I don't know if he was involved with it in terms of it. Somehow, when I read it, it felt like his production company did it. Like, I don't know if he was like taking full credit for it, but I understand what you're saying about not putting my name on it. Yes, Nicole Ali, I agree. I think that Greenleaf is very complex, and I kind of enjoy. I enjoy it. Is it the full movie? Thanks. It's about black people in the hood. LOL. Did anybody hear Netflix canceled Luke Cage after season 1?
Oh, really?
Did you see Luke Cage?
Well, they did a season.
Oh, after
2 of,
season 2. After season
okay.
2, not season 1.
Okay.
I only saw one episode of Luke Cage.
Yeah, I saw the whole first season, and then going into the next season.
You didn't see the whole second season?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So, and actually, it might be interesting to watch 1 and 2, just like, from a black analytical perspective.
Right.
Just, I don't know.
Because I feel that the first one made some legitimate social commentary, and the second one was just a mishmash of trash. It was pushing an agenda, but it was one of these kumbaya black people and white people together type of mixes that I didn't appreciate at all.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excuse me, when we need to be separated from these people, and you got something like that showing us like supposedly come together. I didn't like it.
Yeah, and I don't know I don't know. You say it had, I couldn't figure out. I'm like, what the hell are they trying to say? I don't
You said
understand.
a bad word.
What in the world are they trying to say? I just couldn't. Like, it was just messy and lazy. Like, it did seem like the quality, yeah. So
You could tell it was low budget.
you could tell it was low budget. Another good horror flick from the 70s is Gargoyles. Okay,
Gargoyles was good.
So
Bernie Casey.
with Bernie Casey, check out how Becky get all turned on. Good, funny, scary movie. Oh, well, happy birthday to you.
Whose birthday is it now?
I have no idea. Okay,
But
anything else?
Angela and I are going to be putting together a separate channel. I'll be coming back to YouTube soon. I've been gone for 4 months, and there's what, 3 projects?
Max Evans said he walked out on his ex twice. Ayapo.
I'm telling Mom about. I've been working on 3 projects, 2 of them for the family. So I'll be unveiling those soon. But it actually turned out to be more labor intensive than I thought it would be. Angela's seen some of it, and I think. But that's why I've been going. I'll be back on my channel pretty soon. But Angela and I are putting together a separate channel. We still haven't figured out a name for it, but we're gonna do like reviews of books and movies, TV shows, and so on. So I will let you know when that comes. But it'll be more fun, right? You having fun?
I don't know.
Are you having fun?
Are we having fun yet? Look, how long has this been going on?
10 minutes.
No. You can't tell on your thing how long? Mm-hmm. Oh, 72 minutes ago. All right, that's plenty of time. That's like an hour and a half, right? Hour and 10
That looks like that froze. I wonder if the thing died.
Oh.
That froze. I think it might have died. Let me take a look.
Call it preditate and conversate. Frozen.
There.
Did you have to do something to make it unfreeze?
Oh, the battery's about to go out in a little bit. I don't know how much. Oh, I'm sorry, honey. I didn't mean that.
That's okay. We can hear. Oh, you can hear.
Oh, but
hurry up.
That looks like it turned around. Oh no, it didn't. Did that turn around?
I don't know.
But anyway, Angela and I are going to be putting together a new channel and blah, blah, blah. And we watch a lot of stuff and have a lot of opinions about it. So.
Sonia said we should call the channel Predate and Conversate.
Predate and maybe we should.
We'll give you writing credit for that.
Right.
It's good now. We's back, y'all. We's back. All right. So that's it. Oh, it's your channel, so you have to come out the way you come out.
Huh?
Be you, be fabulous, Oh, I can't sing.
Yeah, you can.
I mean, I was gonna get like the whole recorded song and everything.
Go get it. I'll talk to the
go get it.
Oh, okay.
Cause it's your channel. I can't be singing on your channel.
All I say is peace at the end of mine.
All right, peace.
So yeah, I hope you heard everything we said, even if it was, even if it went out, the battery's about to die. So that's about it. And good night, everybody. Thank you so much for coming in. Be sure to hit the like on the way out, and hit the lights on the way out too. Last one out.
Oh yeah, you only got one like.
Hey, hit the like. What are you talking about? I got but one
Wait,
like.
let me like. I can like for mine.
Wait a minute, what are you talking about? Wait a minute. Let me see this. That's 18 likes, baby.
Oh, look at mine. Look at mine.
What?
It only says 2.
Did you like it?
I just did. Good night, beautiful black people. Love you too, Nicole Ali.
Good night. And we sure do love you, fam.
Yeah, 0 thumbs down. Yeah, all the thumbs up. Peace and black love, all of that other good stuff. Yeah.
Black love.
Yeah. I wish that we could do like movie nights. But
we'll figure it out.
yeah. Okay. Well, I think the points you made were valid in terms of that. But anyway, that's it. Bye.
That's
Bye.
it. I'm good. You can talk to him until I turn the thing off.
Oh, well, I
Well,
don't
sing for him.
Sing? Okay. Be you. Be fabulous. Be fabulous you. Be you. Be fabulous. Be fabulous you. Who you gonna be if you ain't you? Who we gonna be if we ain't we? Who you gonna be if you ain't you?
Be you. Be fabulous. Be fabulous you.
Peace, fam.
If you ain't pissed off, you aren't paying attention.
That don't even go together. You pissed off and I'm happy.
I'm not pissed off.
Oh,
I'm-
they should be pissed
I'm
off.
very
not
happy.
You. Oh, okay. Well, who you want to be pissed off?
Huh? That's the name of the channel.
Okay.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for coming in. I'm trying to figure out how to turn this off, baby.
How do you normally turn it off?
I don't know. Wait a minute. It's been so long.
It's been so long. I'm missing you, baby. Bit of your kisses, the pleasure
That's
of
how
that
sweet.
smile. I think you take.